Hello? Hello?
Oh,
Can you hear me? Hello? No, no. You hear, dude?
hear me?
You're like cutting out. Keep talking?
Test.
Okay, that's good.
I haven't used Skype in a while, so the
Yeah.
settings might be messed up.
Yeah. I wouldn't use it either if I didn't have to, but we don't get screen share on Discord, so I kind of have to. Alright,
So should I have your stream open, or should I just...
no, I'm about to screen share, so there's no
Okay,
delay. Just wanted to make sure you could hear me first. Okay, tell me when you can see it.
I can see it.
Alright, so let's get into this. So, based on the lanes, tell me where you think your pressure should be this game.
I think that mid would probably be or actually bot would probably be the hardest to gank, because Thresh just kind of fucks over melee champions, and I think top lane would be the easiest, because Aria also just has like free movement speed.
Okay. So when you look at when you decide what lanes you want to go to at the start of your game, do you take into account the matchup, or do you just take into account what abilities the enemy laner has to get out of your ganks?
Uh, Usually what my laners can do for me, and then what they can do to me, like what the enemies can do to me to prevent a gank from working.
Okay. What so your jungle main, what's your normal secondary role?
Support
Oh, okay.
or top,
Okay.
like 50-50.
Okay. So as far as pressure goes, and oh yeah, tell me what you know about this jungle matchup, if anything.
Uh, I think uh, I I feel like I beat him at level 3, but level 6 it can be iffy, because it's really important that I land my knockup, but I'd say it's more of a skill matchup, because I can also like deny him a reset if I like dodge his axe or something.
Okay. Right, so the big thing about this matchup is that if either of you face check each other, you're dead. At level
Yeah.
6, if he face checks you, he can still win with ult. It depends on your build. There's a lot of different Reksai builds, so we'll get into that later in the VOD. The matchup is pretty uneventful usually. You guys don't really have great tools to kill each other until like level 6, unless someone face checks the other. He farms a bit faster than you, but he's mana gated. As far as your lane matchups go, top lane is definitely the place to be this game. It's by far the snowballiest matchup. This is by far the snowballiest matchup in this game. Can definitely go both ways. It's going to be very aggressive early. Mid lane is actually really good to go to around level 4, level 3, because the thing about Victor is that he needs, if he gets to go back on 1250 gold, like you can help him go back on 1250 gold, or you get pressure off of him pre-6 so he can get to 1250 gold so he can base for hex core, then that's huge for him, because basically you shouldn't ever have to worry about him anymore, because at that point he doesn't have to lane against the other dude anymore. He can just wave clear forever. So if you see the opportunity, going for an early mid gank just to blow flash or just get pressure off for Victor so he can stay in the lane and farm to his 1250 is really big. Bot lane is it's not the worst lane. It's really not that bad of a lane to gank. You say Thresh fucks melees. It requires a little bit of coordination, but how the gank should ideally play out is you start going, Taric stuns the Thresh. You can't go on Vayne because she'll get Lantern. Taric stuns the Thresh into Jin Snare, and you just knock him up and he's dead, because your team has, like, this combo does quite a bit of damage. You can potentially burst Vayne too, but you have to be aware of Lantern. This lane is also pretty snowbally. Not as snowbally as top is, but it's pretty snowbally because Jin outranges Vayne pretty hard, And Jin Taric, while it's not the highest kill pressure lane, Taric does have some sort of setup, so the lane can snowball quite a bit as well. The most important thing when you go to a Thresh lane is making sure you kill the Thresh. And if your team has set up for you to just get on Thresh, then you can definitely kill him. It's not always a thing where it's like, oh, Thresh lane, can't kill him. Because Thresh himself is actually like decently easy to kill, especially if he's stepping up every time for hook. Okay.
Yeah, he's easy to kill, but like I feel like Jin would have to sort of start off the gank because
Oh yeah,
Vayne and
definitely.
him, or Vayne and Thresh, sorry, can both just either condemn or flay me and Taric out of our basically melee range CCs.
There's no way Taric will get condemned or flayed every single time. Like they can't stop it every single time. Like he can also just flash for it too. Worst comes to worst, but yeah, that's definitely like this is a like bot lane in general is a lane that most people are worse at ganking just because just by the nature of it, you usually have to let your lanes initiate the gank. Okay, so you don't get any pull from this guy. Did he start? Okay, he started Q. Okay, this guy started E and then pull you. That'd be really odd. Okay. Okay. Your normal route to start your W. Okay, so small thing. When you're Wing, um, when you press your W here, wait for the whole bar to heal you before you reburrow. Just like go downwards and kite it until the bar empties, and then unburrow. You lose like a little bit of time, but if you do it all the time, your sustain is much higher.
Yeah, it's like an extra quarter, half a second.
Yeah, but the sustain starts to add up later on. And you really don't lose that much time because the way is like you're kiting it, but if you're kiting it towards the where you're gonna go next anyway, it's not that big a deal. So spending that's fine. Okay, go towards wolves here. So I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with this in this game because the chances of an Olaf like Rafters to bluing you or like red to bluing you is pretty low because the champion needs too much mana. But
Yeah.
in games where you're against an aggressive jungler or a jungler, you're a jungler who can fight you here, or a jungler that might just cheese early, like a Shaco or something. It's better to skip the wolves first and secure your blue first. Because the thing is, you're essentially doing 3 camps atop. So I'm sure you know the very standard jungle route is you do your bot side buff into wolves into the opposite side buff, and oftentimes people will invade, right? Or maybe not invade, but they'll look for a gank. It's pretty 50. I don't want to say it's 50-50. It's probably like 70-30. Most people are pretty allergic to counter jungling. But um, the danger that doing this path opens up to you is that normally if you match their path of buff to wolves to buff, and you just match that, they won't find you at here. They won't find you here. They might find you at Gromp if you do it after your buff, but usually they'll take a peek, see if you're on your buff, and if you're not, then they'll leave. Um, like we said earlier, you don't really have to be too afraid of Olaf at level 3 because it's more of like a you're okay unless you face check him kind of thing, in which case you're just dead. But and like the chances of you face checking him are really low. But just for like when you're against like more aggressive junglers, like if Graves does buff to wolves to buff into your red buff, and he finds you there because you did wolves, like he'll find you there if you do wolves, instead of just going straight to the blue. That can be really bad for you because you don't really have a good way to fight off Graves. Same thing with Elise. It's really difficult for you to fight her off. Nidalee is a bit easier to fight off, but she's still kind of annoying. Lee Sin, same concept. As long as you're burrowed, you can handle Lee Sin. But the thing is, like, if you don't want to deal with that at all, or you're afraid of it, just do the blue buff instead of doing the wolves, and just come back and do the wolves after. You you don't really lose anything except for like a minuscule amount of time. But if you take the blast plan over, it's still not much less time either. Yeah. So yeah. Cut. Just making sure you're letting all your fury dissipate before you re-unburrow. Because that's how you keep your health high. Because the thing is, like, you're gonna go into the river to get a scuttle, and you'll be full HP. But the thing is, when you go into the river at like health like this, you're gonna it's very easy for you to lose a fight, and this is a huge mistake. You don't ever want to burrow. You don't ever want to tunnel into an area that you're not sure is clear, because what happens when Olaf's in this bush, right? You're dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Just walk over, and then like if you don't see anything with the tremor, like even if you don't see anything with the tremor, there's no point in tunneling, right? Because you don't actually need to tunnel for anything else. Like you just hold it and wait. If someone's in that bush, you're just instantly dead, and there go your double buffs in your whole early game. It's not worth risking all of that for an extra like 2 seconds of clear time, especially because what happens. So let's rewind, okay? So before you take this tunnel, what happens if you walk over to the river here and you tunnel and suddenly top gets engaged on? You're like, oh shit, I got 15 seconds on my tunnel, I can't help you, right? You don't ever want to
Yeah.
be in that position either. So it's more of like a safety thing. It's partially a safety thing, and it's also partially a you want the cooldown like
So it's like
just in
greedy
case.
and
Yeah,
selfish.
yeah. It's very greedy. It's not just yeah. Well, yeah. I guess that's one way to put it. It's more that it's just like extremely unnecessary and risky more than greedy. Because there's honestly there's not a real point in doing it, you know. Okay, so this is something you should start implementing. I don't know how often I don't know how often you do a path like this, but after you get scuttle at this point in your path, there's a very simple thing you can do. You walk over, you ward rafters, and then you hit this vision plant upwards, and you basically will have if you've done this route at that point in the game, warding the rafters and then hitting the vision plant upwards, either to check red buff or check rafters. I mean Krugs. Basically, should give you all the information you need to know about where he's cleared. Hitting this up towards Krugs and hitting this towards Rafters. If you haven't seen the enemy jungler and dropping the ward at Rafters, if you haven't seen the enemy jungler yet, you'll almost guaranteed get a spot on him. And then if you do get a spot on him, you can just tell what path he's done because of his CS. So do you track jungle CS?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so you should know just exactly how important seeing someone in the early game is, right? You see his CS once, you know exactly what he has up, probably what he's gonna do after that. And on top of that, if you're against like a non-meta jungler or just a weaker early game jungler and you drop this ward at Rafters and you hit the plant upwards, you see if they're on Krugs and you do see them on one of these two camps, it's usually very easy for you to just walk up and force a flash, right? Because you're pretty strong early game. You know, not the strongest level 3 jungler, but you're pretty strong. You'll clean up most non-meta junglers or anyone who's clearing improperly. So, and especially because of the fact that you're close to 2 trinket wards at this point in the game, where you should be. I don't know where you used your first one or if that's glitched, but you just drop
I
one
used the
there.
first one at level 1.
Oh, I must have missed it.
It was at level 1 in the little pixel bush at bot side river.
This one?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay. Good. So this gank is incredibly greedy, regardless of the fact that it succeeds. So first thing, you don't take the blast plant, which I think in this case is a mistake, because if we just take a look at the situation, right, you're gonna have to run this guy down the lane, right?
Yeah.
So having your tunnel, if he flashes earlier, or if he EQ flashes or flash EQs, and you still want to chase him, is really important. Give me a second. The VOD is. I mean, I need to reset the replay. It's actually frozen for me on stream. 1 second. I have no idea how that happened, but it did.
Yeah, I actually noticed a little bit earlier that it wasn't displaying Olaf's blue buff
Oh no,
on his actual champion.
that happens whenever you pause. I'm pretty sure just buffs just disappear when you pause. It's really odd. They like reappear right after. They should, unless you.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure they reappear right after in all cases. I don't think that's a glitch, but yeah. Let me restart the screen share. Okay, so I'll just go through look at your. I want to look at your ward real quick. Oh, it's just a.
it should run straight in for the
You're
ward.
afraid of the game or the invade. Okay, so I don't think this ward is bad, but generally try to get your team to put this ward down because your wards are the most important as the jungler because your wards are flexible. You can use them to cover any lane, and you can also use them to get vision on the enemy jungler, which in turn covers your lanes anyway, so they don't need to use their wards, as long as you're using your wards properly. So your wards are more valuable than everyone else's. Try not to burn them at level 1 at any cost. If it's a level 1 fight, you need vision in a bush or something, and it's a desperate situation, then yeah, go for it. But just in general, if it's something that you don't need to put down, like you want to go get a ward on his rafters or something level 1, try to get your team to put it down first because your wards are just more important, straight up. So let's skip to where we were. We were talking about the top lane gank. So you do Gromp here and finish it off here, and then you go for this gank. So first off, like I said earlier, it's better to take the blast plant here because you're gonna have to run this guy down the lane, and having tunnel to chase down one of his escapes, like either the EQ or the flash, is really really nice. If he doesn't play the gank the way he does, this should be like a free escape. Because literally all you need to do is EQ right now, or EQ flash, or just, I don't think flash itself gets him out, but he's pretty gone at this point because you don't have tunnel. Obviously he doesn't know you don't have tunnel, but he doesn't need to know because all he's thinking is, I need to get to my turret, I'm just going to EQ, and then if Reksai tunnels, then he can just flash, right? The thing is you don't have tunnel. If this guy had just played the game properly by just EQing, instead of waiting for the bush to EQ and then getting buffered on your knockup, you don't get this kill off. And here's the other thing about this gank that's really, really greedy. You haven't seen this dude once this game. And
No, we haven't.
the thing about this gank is that the thing about ganking in general is when you don't know where the enemy jungler is and you go for a long gank, like a gank where you have to run down someone, it's extremely greedy because the longer the gank takes to execute, the higher the chance of you getting counter ganked is. And to make matters worse, you haven't seen Olaf once this game, and you know he started bottom because he got a leash. So at this time frame, it's actually extremely high chance that he's top lane right now. And you're basically betting on the fact that either one, he's too stupid to realize that he needs to counter gank, or two, he's too low on resources to counter gank. Neither of which is something you should ever want to bank on. And the other fact, the thing that makes matters worse is that you actually could have just gotten vision of him very simply, just by, like I said earlier, you hit this plant upwards and you drop a ward on the rafters, and even if you hadn't seen him with either, it would have been very easy to infer what he'd done at that point, because if he's not in his topside jungle at 330, which is about the time you would have hit all this stuff to get the vision, then he's not topside at all, and then you can go for the gank for free because you know he shouldn't be topside at all unless he's already waiting in the bush or something, in which case unlucky. But that's really really odd gank. So you can't ever 100% guarantee that someone's not there unless you directly see them on somewhere else on the map, but you can prove it without reasonable doubt that they're not there. And you know, if you still get counter ganked in that case, then you know, oh well, you got outplayed. But the thing is, like, in solo queue, you go for the consistent play, and usually, if you infer like that, like not in his top jungle at 330, know he started bottom, then it's usually pretty easy to infer what's going on. But the thing is, you don't do any of that. You cut out all of the prep. You don't ward Tribush beforehand. You don't ward Golems. You don't ward Raptors. You don't hit the Vision plant. You haven't seen him at all on Scuttle or anything. He hasn't ganked anything. And you go for a long lane gank anyway. And while it works due to multiple misplays, one, the Olaf actually was top lane. He just I don't know what he did on his clear to be that low, but he's way lower than he should be, and then also tunnels really hard or chooses not to come for whatever reason. And Jarvan also messes up the execution on um, escaping the gank, so you get the kill. But in reality, this is not a good play, and this play will get you punished the higher you go up very easily. So good to buffer the EQ on him, like buffer the W on his EQ so he couldn't get out. That was really well played. But the thing is, it never should have been in a situation like that for you in the first place, because this guy shouldn't have even EQ'd from there, and he also probably should have gotten help from Olaf. So let's check your gold here. Does everything I said make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, it's just a super greedy play.
So like sometimes it works, like, and actually like I don't know about D5. I'd say probably more often than not it'll work, but it's the thing is like it's not the fact of going for the gank isn't bad. It's the fact that you went for the gank without getting vision beforehand that's bad. Because you always want to know where the enemy jungler is when you gank if possible. Because knowing where he is lets you decide how far and how deep you want to go for a gank. So you go for Saber, Longsword here. Let me just make sure. You had 1200, I believe. I think that's fine. I do believe Blue Smite's better on Reksai than Red Smite, though, in most if not all scenarios. So I don't know how often you do Red Smite versus Blue Smite, but
It is very good because it's basically a free ult, but I think against Olaf, I felt like I needed it.
okay. That's I guess that's reasonable. I actually do Red Smite way more than I should as well, but Blue Smite in general is just a lot better, especially like in cases where like you need to ult someone. So go to your rafters here. So I'm not really a big fan of not going to Krugs here, because the thing about first Krugs is that the thing about this pathing, I'll explain this pathing first actually, is your available plays out of Krugs versus your available plays out of Rafters is very different. When you're at the Rafters camp, you can go for mid gank, you can transition into bot gank, you can transition into going into his bot jungle, or you can transition into going into your topside jungle. Whereas if you're on Krugs, then the only thing you can do is realistically go into the river towards his jungle or go for bottom, like quickly. Like obviously you can walk back up and then go for middle, but if you're trying to like cross quadrants, it's a very far walk. So it's always more efficient to start on the Krugs and then go to the Rafters, because you get more options out of the Rafters rather than going to the Rafters and then going to the Krugs. If you've got a preset plan in mind, or you don't want to spend that much time farming, then yeah, you can just go to the Rafters straight away. But the thing about this is that your wolves are down for another like 30-ish seconds, and you don't need to spend the whole time clearing the Krugs camp. You can just kill the big Krug and the small Krug or the medium Krug that spawns initially to reset the camp, and that's actually really good, because the first spawn of Krugs gives you terrible EXP. And while you might not want to spend time in the mid to early game doing Krugs at all because you want to be active on the map, it's still good to clear the first one out, just so when you have the second one up that actually gives real EXP waiting for you whenever you have downtime for it. So you don't have to clear the whole Krugs camp early on, and if you don't clear the whole camp early on, you just do the initial spawns to reset the camp for later. It's actually pretty fast. So whenever you have a chance in the early game, and whenever you recall or die and you're exiting your base to go into a quadrant of the jungle, it's almost always better to start on the Grom or start on the Krugs rather than starting on the Wolves or the Rafters, unless you have an immediate plan to do something right after. Because just as far as pathing efficiency goes, it's just better to start on right here, because it gives you more options to transition out. And pretty significant thing, not buying a control ward whenever you have money, like you did on your last base, is really, really bad. Is this like a, do you not really buy control wards often, or do you just kind of forget here? What do you?
I do buy control wards, but I guess I didn't hear. Probably
Okay.
forgot, but
Okay.
I do buy them.
Okay. Okay. You have the scuttle here. You know it's level 1 because it's got 800 health. Do it really fast. Going into his jungle to check. Oh, this is fine. Alright. What I will say is doing the Raptors here is fine, but you want to drop your trinket ward right here, or even a control if you have it usually, because the two best spots in the game to ward to track the enemy jungler early is this bush and this bush, because these two bushes give you the most information about where the enemy jungler is going to be. You see someone cross downwards on the sword, you know exactly if they cut to the left, they're going to the river to gank. If they cut to the right, they're going to Gromp. And if they don't reappear in like 20-30 seconds after doing Gromp, then you know they're looking for a bot gank through lane or something. If they're going upwards, you know they're going to wolves. If they're going to the left, obviously, well, you see them if they're doing blue buff. And if for some reason they go to the right, or if they go to the right, they're looking for a lane gank probably, and if they go upwards, then they're trolling. But this ward gives you a lot of information based on where you see people cross afterwards. This ward is the same. You see them come through this way, then they probably just came from their bot side jungle. You can kind of assume that most of that, if not all of it, is down. Obviously, you'll see them during the rafters. If they cut to the left, then you know they're going into the river to look for a gank. If they cut upwards, you know they're going to red buff or Krugs. You can assume which one, depending on like what info you have about what spawned. But basically, these two wards gives you all the information you need to set up a play, either to counter gank them or on the opposite side of the map where you know you won't get counter ganked, or to go take camps. These two wards give you all the information possible, and in this case it's even more applicable because Olaf ganked top after you ganked top, right? When Jarvan TV'd back in and killed Ribbons. And if you looked at his CS, he had 22. What is 22 CS? What's 22 CS?
Is like a full clear.
Yeah, it's a full clear. So after he ganks top and he full clears, realistically, what is he gonna do?
Well, he has to, probably shove his lane with Jarvan and then be.
Exactly. So he's gonna.
There might be like one or a couple CS extra, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He might get a little bit more CS. Might be hard to track him on the next. But the thing is, you know he's full cleared, right? You can know he's full cleared off of that, and you know if he's full cleared, he's gonna recall, right? And if he's gonna recall, then realistically he's gonna go bot side, right? Because that's where all of his first caps are gonna spawn because he started bot side. You know, 430, 445. That's the first respawn on the smalls. He wants to be down there. He's already late. So when you see these wolves up, you should start thinking in your head, where the hell is this guy, right? And you should ward behind you here for safety because if he's not here, then he's either doing some crazy ass gank where he's going straight to a lane with 0 camps up, without doing any camps, or he's doing Gromp right now. So just dropping the trinket ward behind you right here gives you a lot of information. Like, you're still safe. Yes, you have the blast plant right here. You have the blast plant right here, but you just want to know, you want the information on him regardless of how safe you are. Just because this ward in general is just such a good ward anyway. Okay. So you just leave the jungle afterwards. What is this guy doing? Why did he not clear his wolves? Alright. Very interesting. So here's the thing. Now you go clear your Krugs, and while you did get the enemy wolves out of it, like now look at the options you have out of this play, right? Realistically, like if you want to go top now and when it's prime real estate time to gank, it's gonna take you 10 years to get up there, right? Mid is not gonna be gankable soon because this dude's about to die or he's going back to base, and bot lane is pushed in and not diveable. So you don't have any gank options out of this play, really. Like the only gank options you normally have out of this play is a slow walk to middle, would have been faster if you were at rafters, or a close walk to bottom. But because bot lane isn't necessarily gankable, guess what you're gonna have to do? You have to make a long walk to another place to get farm or make a play. Ends up not being too bad because you just catch minion wave mid here. Good observation when your mid laner dies to go catch the wave. Just free EXP. Do this all the time. The thing is, if this hadn't happened, you have to walk all the way to your wolves, and it's really inefficient. Whereas if you had just done Krugs out of spawn instead of rafters, you still could have went in for the wolves. It probably would have been a bit more sketchy since he was on Gromp. But regardless, like what he did was really weird. The thing is, your transition outwards would have been so much better. Maybe you would have been able to save Victor when getting all in if you were on the rafters instead of the Krugs, right? And if you weren't, regardless, you catch the mid farm a little earlier, and then you still get wolves, or like even if the Victor doesn't die, which is more normal, then you just have a very short walk to wolves, and then you can start looking mid again. You can look top, whatever from your top side, right? And especially because of the fact that you established yourself at the start of the game. Your best lane to gank this game is top lane, so you want to spend the least proximity away from top lane as possible, which would be just getting rid of the Krugs out of the way early and then just clearing upwards, so you're ready to gank top at a moment's notice. You know, walking rafters to top, it's still a long walk, but it's not nearly as bad as Krugs to top. Same thing with wolves to top. It's not as good as Gromp to top, but it's still better than rafters to top. So you want it to be on the closer side to top as much as possible. Just you've established that at the start of the game. So making sure you do Krugs first on every clear, or just not doing Krugs at all, so you have closer proximity to top lane, is really important. Or just in general in pathing, making sure you have closer proximity to whatever lane you want to put pressure on the most is really important. Okay, so you see Olaf here. You are... okay. That's right. So... I'm actually... where did you put your trinket ward? I wasn't paying attention. Let me see... right there. Okay, this ward is useless. Like, it's actually just a terrible ward. If you get the scuttle, it's extremely useless. If you don't have the scuttle, this ward's fine. But you have the scuttle, like you're getting the scuttle right now. It's actually a useless ward, because the scuttler will outtime it, and the scuttler basically gives you all the information that the outward does. And if you say, like, yeah, there's like certain pockets that the scuttler won't see that this ward will give, but guess what? You can clear all of those pockets by warding right here or warding right here, and these wards give you way more information that this ward will ever do. So this ward is just basically just straight up always bad. It's a bit different if it's a control, because obviously it'll last longer, and if you have the scuttle, then more people will be deterred from even walking in the bush to check if you have a control. That's different. But this is a trinket ward, so it's just not a good ward to place down. Better to just save it for right here. Like I said earlier, literally here and here, the best two places you can ever get wards down as a jungler. Or even just like right here or right here if you wanted a more shallow ward for whatever reason. Okay. So right when you see Olaf, I don't know what prompted you to do the rafters. I don't know if it's because you saw he had 27 CS, which meant it was impossible for him to do rafters because you saw him with 22 earlier, and you saw he taxed a few minions in the lane. I don't know if that's what prompted you to go to rafters, but regardless, it's good observation that he's not going to be countering you at the rafters. So you go get him right here. Why do you leave the big one? Okay.
I was kind of afraid that he would just leave his Krugs and run straight down.
Okay. Fair enough. You're insane. Okay. Um, what I will say is, even if Olaf had like found you, if you'd pulled the big rafter like right here, I don't think realistically he'd be able to do much to you. Worst case scenario is he just smites it away from you. But the thing is, if you leave it, he's gonna get it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, because you didn't have a ward for this push because you put one in the river earlier, it's actually better for you to um, meet him like kill the rafter like right here, and then if he does come down and he smites it away from you, like oh well, he's gonna get it anyway. And the thing is, if he does smite it from you, one, you know he's down smite, and two, you actually get concrete vision of him, because right now you know exactly where he is, but you don't know where he's gonna be in the next 5 seconds. Whereas if you see him at the rafters here, he should never ever kill you, right? If you meet him right here, you're doing the rafter. Imagine you're doing the rafter's right here. You're right here killing it on burrow, right? How is he gonna kill you, right? Realistically, he should never be able to kill you. You saw he wasn't full HP, full mana. Realistically, there's no way he's ever gonna kill you, especially if he smites the rafter away from you. So you don't really need to be afraid, and you're basically just conceding the rafter to him when you don't need to. And the thing is, if you do concede the rafter to him, but at least you get vision of him, maybe you get a smite out and you get concrete vision of him, so you know that going for this dive that you're about to go for in 10 seconds probably isn't very safe. So as far as execution on this gank goes, it's not bad. The main problem is you tunnel at a really awkward angle.
I kind of thought that
She would keep walking, or
that my knockup was gonna come out like earlier or something, but yeah, I don't know. It was kind of strange because she flashed, but then she kind of got knocked to the side instead of like the 1 second knockup.
what I will say is, your angle here was bad, because the thing
Yeah.
is you want to cut off his angle to the turret first, right? Because that's naturally like where he'll go first. Because if you're afraid of him going up this way, like he's just gonna flash over this wall and he's gone. Whereas like if you cut him off going towards the turret, it's a lot easier to execute the game. And this is just really, really bad to go for. Because the thing is, there's no way in hell that at this HP, your ultimate kills her. And all she needs to do is wait for you to land, press E on you, and you're dead. 100% dead. No trade kill possible. You get lucky that she misses charm here. She misses charm here, and then you have flash up, and you end up just killing her. But this is an extremely high risk play that doesn't really get you that much. You had to blow flash just to get a trade kill. And even had it not been a trade kill, like Olaf isn't here, it's not necessarily worth it because you can't kill mid turret. So if you could buy flash in the shop for 300 gold, would you do it?
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how you should look at it most of the time. If the flash is gonna get you a kill so you can get turret, do it every time. Flash is gonna get you first blood so your lane snowballs, do it every time. Flash is gonna get you a kill on enemy jungler and get his buffs, do it every time. Flash is gonna get you a kill so you can get dragon, do it every time. Flash is gonna get you a kill that's a 1-for-1 trade, or Flash is going to get you one kill that you can't get turret off because you're too low. Probably not worth it. Your Flash is such a versatile tool that blowing it for one kill or blowing it for a trade kill is one of the worst ways you can use it, aside from blowing it to live and dying anyway, but we won't talk about that. Your Flash opens up like opportunities for better plays. While early game, it's usually fine to go for flashes like that because you can snowball with the gold. I'm not saying necessarily here it was a bad idea because you already committed, and if you didn't get anything out of it, it would have been pretty bad. At least you get a trade kill here. So I'm not gonna say too much about the situation. I just want to talk about it in general. Later in the game, unless you're securing objectives with that kill, don't flash for kills most of the time. Um, a lot of people make this mistake. I'm sure if you watch League streamers, I'm sure if you watch pro play, there's many times where they'll be 20 minutes into a game and you'll see someone flash for a kill. They'll get nothing out of it, not even ward control because people are resetting anyway. And it doesn't occur to you that it's a bad play because, you know, how could it be a bad play? We got a kill for free, right? But when in reality, in 20 minutes into the game, when you've hit your core items already, it's a pretty easy answer if you just sit down and think about it. Would you rather have your flash up in a fight, or would you rather have 300 gold for another longsword or a cloth armor in a fight, right? At 20 minutes when you already have 2-3 items. It's a pretty simple answer. Almost every champion in the game would rather have their flash. You know, maybe you've been waiting on your IE and you needed that extra 300 gold to finish it when you had no other camps or no minions to farm. So if you didn't get that kill, you wouldn't have IE on your base. But like, that's a very rare scenario to ever occur. 95 times out of like 100, it's not worth to get for that kill. It's not worth to flash for that kill, and you'd rather hold your flash. You'd rather hold your flash for the potential to use it to outplay or win a team fight, right? Because 20 minutes into the game, what's 300 gold getting you versus a one team fight, right? It's not even close in the magnitude of what you'll be able to get out of it. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're flashing for just a kill or a trade kill. More later into the game. This is still pretty early game, so the 300 gold spike is pretty nice acceleration for you. But later on into the game, when you're making plays, make sure you keep into account in your mind. Is it worth it to flash for this kill? And what will we get if I flash for this kill? So you get the trade here, and you buy warrior. You have 12. You just buy warrior here and boots. Warrior, boots, control ward. That's your buy. Warrior. There's the boots. There's your control ward. Hopefully. Gotta work on that. Okay. Path towards your red buff here. Pretty normal. Do your red buff. Okay. With your rafters. Okay. So, same thing here. Actually, I don't think your Krugs were up. Okay, so your Krugs were up. I'm just gonna explain a concept to you right now, though. Of downtime. When you're laners, when you have like laners who aren't in lane, or like let's say like late game also, someone is off like catching a wave on the other side of the map when you guys need to be grouped up to make a play. Consider that as downtime. A lot of people tell me I farm early game, and I don't know when to farm. Like mid game, I'm always falling behind the enemy jungler. And there are people who say like I don't know when to stop farming. You know, I never know when it's a good time to farm, when it isn't. So that's where the concept of downtime comes in. When you have a laner who isn't in his lane, or you have someone mid to late game who's not on the proper position on the map because they have to catch a wave or something that's coming in, that's your downtime to farm. Because in reality, you shouldn't be trying to make plays at all until your team is grouped, and you shouldn't be trying to make plays, too many plays on the map when one of your laners is not there, because that exponentially increases the risk of you getting counter ganked, because instead of predicting a gank from 3 lanes, the enemy jungler only has to predict a gank from 2 lanes. And judging from where the waves are, it's usually very, very easy to predict which lane is going to be. So just in general, you don't want to be ganking too often when you have laners who aren't in lane, regardless of what lane it is, just because for process of elimination, it makes it a lot easier for the enemy jungler to predict what you're going to do and counter gank it. And the thing is, it just you think of that time as downtime to farm, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. So yeah. So right here, like, your could have spawned a little later, but had they been up, I would have said this is like one of the best times you can to get them because your Victor is still walking at a base, so you have downtime to grab it, and second spawn of Krugs is such insane EXP. But they weren't up, so not applicable here, but I just wanted to explain the concept in case I didn't get a better opportunity to later. Okay. No ultimate, unlucky. Crosshair is your top side here.
I felt like she should have died there like 100%. I had like my full combo and then the red smite.
You think
And then he even, I think he landed the laser too.
do you think you misplayed something, or do you think like he
Maybe. I don't know. But this just felt pretty bad.
mechanically this is pretty fun. You even do the greedy thing where like normally you wanna not queue first because it gives him an extra like half second to react to you coming in. You actually even you queue first, which like I said earlier, it gives him extra time to react. But as far as like a full damage combo goes, it's better because you get 2 queues off instead of 1. No, realistically, there's not much to change here. You hit the second queue too. Yeah, realistically, there's not much to really change here. The only thing you could have maybe changed is instead of just rocking right into him, you juke the charm, but he throws it at you while you're mid tunnel, so you don't even have a chance to juke it actually. And yeah, no, realistically, there's not much to change there. You would have had to dodge charm to get one more auto off on him to kill him, but he never really gave you a chance to dodge charm. You can argue that part of the reason you didn't get a chance to dodge charm is because he reacted faster because you queued him first before Eing in, but that's about it as far as changing how you played that game. Good. That's the blue. Grab the Gromp. Okay. So right here, you have a free opportunity to go into his top side jungle after this Gromp, but you don't take it. Why? Right here, you're gonna get opportunity to go to his top side jungle, but you don't take it. Right here. You got mid priority. You got top priority. You just finished a camp. You're good on EXP. You're probably ahead of the curve. Probably ahead of the Olaf. Why don't you walk into his top side jungle?
I know mid has pressure, but I don't think I was looking at top, and
Okay.
maybe Jarvan was still there. I don't know.
Do you counter jungle very often?
Kind of. I mean, I already did like once or twice this game. I'm not sure how many more times I do, but probably not as often as I should.
What prompts you to counter jungle? What makes you think like, oh, this is a good time to counter jungle?
After it's usually a lot in the early game because I'll see that there's no way that he can contest me here because I know from his pathing in his jungle farm, and then usually my lanes will also be in a good spot.
Okay. So there's two things. There's 2 really important things to look at when you're counter jungling. One is a super obvious one. He's ganking bottom, so you go take his top side. That's the elementary one. Everyone knows about that one. The second one that a lot less people know is when you have lane priority, you can invade whenever you want because this Jarvan is stuck. Once Jarvan gets to the turret, he's gonna be stuck at the turret. He wants to catch all these minions, or he's gonna fall too far behind in lane. So he won't be able to move immediately to help Olaf. Your top lane has priority. Same thing with your mid lane. The Aria is stuck at her turret and has to catch minions. So your mid lane has priority. You get into a fight, he's gonna be the first one there because he just walks over. Aria can walk around too, but that means she's conceding creeps. And all you do in that case is you just don't initiate the fight unless you're 100% sure you'll win it, and you just come out net ahead anyway because your lanes are just denying farm. If the Aria tries to cross the faster way to get to the fight faster, your laner just cuts them off. Same thing here. If Jarvan wants to cut this way to go help Olaf at the red buff, Riven cuts him off right here. Doesn't let him through. If Jarvan wants to go around, it's a way longer walk to loop all the way around here to the red buff. whereas Riven just walks straight to the red buff from here. And also, once again, when the lane is pushed and your top laner has priority, if the enemy top laner leaves to roam and go help in the jungle, then they lose minions. So when you're in a position where you don't think you can gank, it's actually really, really good to just invade when your lanes have priority. And even if you don't end up taking anything from the enemy jungler, you pressure the enemy laners and still get a lead for your laners, because they either lose creeps. These guys either lose creeps going to help you, or they get going to help Olaf, or they get chunked. Or if they really just don't want to help Olaf, then you just kill Olaf yourself, or you pressure him off this stuff by yourself. So that's what the most important thing to look out for when counter jungling, aside from the really obvious, he's bottom, let me take his top camps thing. Check if your lanes have priority. Counter jungling is good at all stages of the game as long as you have priority, or if you're doing it when they're on the other side of the map and cannot contest. It's not necessarily an only early game thing or only mid game thing. It's good at all times as long as you understand when and play around that. So small mechanical flub here. You walk a little too close to the Jarvan and you get caught in the EQ knockup. And because of that, you don't get the knockup on him. And he flashes out. And that's about it.
I don't even think he knew I was there.
He didn't
at all.
He didn't. He just
walked
AoE'd you
down.
with the EQ. Yeah. Just, okay. So once again, that is the same concept as your very first gank in the game. You're gonna kill him, but you could have like you had no idea like where Olaf was. I think Olaf loses this. His E comes up, he might win. Yeah. Ooh. Rip. So here's the thing. Here's your vision. Olaf's in this bush, you're dead. Olaf's doing Krugs, you're dead. Olaf's doing Rafters, but he sees you right now and walks up, you're probably dead. What's Olaf doing right now?
I feel like I wanted to chase that guy down because we know he has no ulti, and
well, here's the other thing.
I think if Riven's here, then I think we destroy this 2v2.
Here's the other thing. If so you knock him up, right? If this guy wants to, if Olaf's not here, literally all this guy needs to do is just EQ. If you don't have ult, you can EQ here. You can chase him with ult. He might still walk out though because you can't get a knock up after the ultimate. Or he just EQs here and then bases. Because you guys still haven't shoved the wave up. And so he's got potential escape routes even if Olaf isn't here. And Olaf is here. He ends up dying because what he should have done is he should have just EQ'd upwards and then you would have dropped vision on him and you can't ult. He makes a misplay and like tries to actually kill you himself, so you kill him. But you're preying off of enemy misplays rather than just picking good consistent plays to make. When you have this big of a lead, you pretty much never have to make risky plays. You can basically just walk into the enemy jungle whenever you want and get vision out. So whenever you go for a play, you know that it's gonna be safe or pretty damn safe. But the thing is, you have a lead, but you don't walk into the jungle to ever ward. You haven't bought a single control ward this game. So regardless of your lead, you're having to make plays where there's a chance to counter. If you're warding up, you're using your lead to bully him around in the jungle and get wards down, you don't ever have to make a risky play. You had such a massive EXP lead on this guy. Let's take a look at how big this EXP lead is. You're 8, and he's like 7 and like, what is this, like 15, 20%, and you're like 8 with like a little bit under 5%. So you're almost a full level up on him before this play happens. But you never pressure him in the jungle, you never go get wards out to guarantee that you're safe in like any of these ganks. And I just realized another thing. Like, this Jarvan literally could have just walked away from you, like right here. The only reason you get this knockup without using your E is that he literally just walks into you because he knows like Olaf is coming. If this guy doesn't have Olaf, all he literally needs to do is just keep walking away from you. As soon as you tunnel, he EQs away and he's gone. Like, it's literally just a waste of time. Like, there's so many things wrong with this play. Like, it's greedy. It should have never worked. And it's not like it ends up getting you killed like regardless. Like, this is probably like the best case scenario for you if Olaf's here. Getting 1 for 2. Like, there's no real way Ribbon's gonna outplay this. So, yeah, it's just a really, really greedy play. You gotta start setting up your ganks beforehand by warding the jungle and getting knowledge that you're safe when you're going for the gank. Going for all these plays without ever getting vision of the enemy jungler is just asking to get counter ganked. And in a lot of cases, like this one, it's gonna put your lanes behind too, not just yourself. Okay. So 1200 gold. I'm assuming you're just waiting for Phage. I'm assuming you do cleaver builds. That's what a lot of people do.
I think so.
You go Tabi, Ruby Crystal. Okay, I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that buy. Could have done Phage too. Realistically though, I think they're both pretty good buys. They do have triple AD, so you were gonna get Tabi eventually. Getting it early on Reksai. Getting TG boots early on Reksai is pretty solid. So now you do what I was talking about earlier. You go bot side quadrant, which is good actually. It's even better than it was earlier because you have downtime, right? This guy is I don't know what this guy's doing, but bot lane's down in lane, so you have a lot of downtime here. You have downtime to farm, grab all this. Go get Scuttle. A little scary because you don't have mid priority. You can get collapsed on by the Aria if Olaf walks in and meets you, but you do it pretty fast, so it's not super scary. Okay. And this is another instance of you going for a really risky play off of no information. You don't know where Olaf is. You didn't know where Aria was for a little bit when you started the dragon. It's very easy for you to just get cut out and stopped here. Well, you can argue, like, yeah, you can just go... I could just escape by E over the wall. If they show up at, like, 2k HP, you're stuck in the situation where if you E over the wall, they get it, and if you don't E over the wall, then you probably die for it. Whereas, there's multiple things. If you had just got a control ward, your first control ward of the game, I might add, then
Yeah.
you would have been able to do this with free knowledge that they don't know that you're doing it. For one, which is like a way bigger help. If they, like, you don't even know if this is swept right now. If they have a ward on this, then you can say either bye-bye to the dragon or bye-bye to yourself, because you're probably going to get collapsed on and just die. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, like, yeah, you have camps to farm topside, and topside, like you said, it's still the most volatile lane matchup. And look at how low this tower is, right? That's First Blood Tower right there. Like, all your turrets are, like, pretty healthy still. But thing is, and their turrets in the other lanes are low. I mean, are still pretty healthy as well, except for this one. You just path top here, grab your camps, and then go up and dive Jarvan, because he's got no flash because you burned it earlier, and you just get the turret, or you just walk up and force him off the turret, and you get First Blood turret. First Blood turret is worth almost like 3 kills worth of gold, which is insane, especially because a lot of it is concentrated gold too, which is even more valuable than like Baron Nashor gold, because, you know, Baron Nashor gold is split on everyone, but concentrated gold helps you get to higher tier items faster, which have just more gold value inherently from passives and stuff than concentrated gold value will usually get you. So First Blood turret is far and away the best objective you can get in the early game for your team. It's better than Infernal Drake, it's better than Rift Herald, it's better than anything. First Blood turret is always the first objective you want to get, and whether you get that by chain ganking a lane into a guy AFKs and you kill his turret, or just going into a lane where going into like a Tristana or a Ziggs lane one time and getting a kill, and then just blowing up the turret because Ziggs and Tristana one-shot turrets, that's fine too. However you do it, whether you want to make one guy hate himself or you want to make everyone on the other team pissed off because Ziggs is a dumb champion, your job in the early game is to secure first blood turret whenever possible. And when it's not possible, for whatever reason, then you can start looking at the other objectives on the map. But the thing is, soloing dragon, it's slow. If it's air dragon or ocean dragon, it hurts like hell. And it gives you shit for EXP. Like, if you're not super behind, in which case you shouldn't be doing dragon anyway, it gives you shit for EXP. It actually gives you about the same as a camp, maybe even less than a camp, and it takes so much longer than a camp. Essentially, the only thing you're ever going to be doing Dragon for, because you're not doing it for the gold, you're not doing it for the EXP, you're doing it to get it off the map and for the Dragon benefit itself. But while this Mountain Drake is going to scale pretty well, you give me Rift Herald, you give me First Blood Turret, or you give me Rift Herald to get First Blood Turret. I take that every day of the week because that's just a more valuable objective than the dragon. The Rift Herald doesn't give you gold, but it essentially gets you a free turret, which is the same thing as gold. And if First Blood Turret is still up, even better. It's almost never worth it to waste your time in the early game soloing a dragon. And on top of all that, you weren't doing it safely either. You were doing it when there's a high likelihood that you can get pushed off of it or potentially lose it because they'll put you in a position where you have to commit to either dying for it or they just get you off of it by checking it at higher HP. Okay.
So right there, I kind of just told my bot lane to keep playing up, and I just sat in the tri-bush for a pretty uncomfortable amount of time, and thankfully he came.
This was okay. I think it's fine to wait because you know he's in the area. Had you waited a little longer, I think things would have started to get really uncomfortable, like you said. The only thing I'd really change about this game is that as soon as Olaf dies here, you kind of walk upwards, so you end up having to flash on Thresh. Whereas you could have just kept walking towards Thresh and got the knockup without flashing. But aside from that, pretty clean. Good identification of a play you wanted to make and committing to it. And good in fighting, you didn't chase too hard when Olaf forced you away. Big mistake here though. Why aren't you staying for this turret?
I don't feel like we can kill it.
Really? Really? You don't think you can kill
it? Like Jhin attacks pretty slow, and I mean,
there's 3 people here. There's a wave here. How much AoE wave clear does Vayne have right now?
Negative.
If Vayne's under this turret and there's 3 people here, you think she could step up and hit these minions?
No.
Exactly. It's a pretty free turret. If you're there. Yeah, Jhin pushes pretty slow, but when you got a minion wave, you're zoning them off, so there's no threat to your minion wave, and there's 3 people hitting it. You have a warrior at this point in the game. This is a dead turret. This First Blood turret. If this wasn't First Blood turret, yeah, maybe you could get away with not going towards it. But this is First Blood turret, so you have to put higher priority on it. I understand, you want your red buff. You really want your red buff, but that red buff can wait for multiple reasons. One, this dude's dead. He's not taking your red buff from the grave, so you don't have to worry about that. This dude's mid lane, this dude's top lane, this dude stuck bottom, this dude's dead. No one's going to take your red buff, so you don't have to worry about that. And 2, you probably want to go back pretty soon, right? You know, you're healthy, but either you're going to get your red buff and you're going to clear upwards, right? Because you don't really want to gank middle. Or you're going to get your red buff and you're going to recall it by your phage. Regardless, you're probably going to be wasting the efficiency on your red buff anyway, so you shouldn't be picking it up right now. Unless you're going to get it and then recall, but if you get it and then recall, it's kind of inefficient because you have camps up to grab anyway. So, the right play is definitely just get this turret. Like, look at this. Let's look at how much damage they get on this turret without you, okay? And how many minions Vayne kills. So, let's just count first how many autos Vayne gets on the wave here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Well, she's autoing Jin. She would have had like 11, okay? So 11 autos. If you're there, she gets 0. Let's count how many autos Jin gets on the turret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he has to fight Vayne. So he gets 5 autos off. And let's count the turret HP, okay? This turret starts at 2318. Jin plus the minions get 5 autos off. Does 900 damage to the turret, okay? So, if Jin got 8 autos off instead of 5, and you're hitting this, and Vayne autoed 0 times instead of 11, this turret's dead. You know what that means? That means first blood turret. Your biggest objective in the early game. Yeah. When you get 2 kills like that, it's pretty much impossible for any one person to hold against you guys anymore as long as you have any semblance of resources, and you guys are literally all full health. Jin's low on mana. This guy could afford to have more mana. You're Reksai. You could have stayed for this turret, and it would have been first blood turret. Would have been a huge weight off your shoulders, because the thing is, until you get first blood turret, you're on a timer. You're on a timer to get first blood turret before the enemy jungler or the enemy laners shit on your laners enough that they can get first blood turret. When you get first blood turret, not only does the map open up because you can move up vision because they don't have a turret there, and you can shove the wave further so you can play more aggressively in their jungle. The timer is off of you too. When you lose a turret but it's not first blood turret, it sucks. It always sucks to lose a turret, but it hurts way less because you don't have to worry about giving them 900 gold worth, like 3 kills worth of gold, for getting first blood turret. So, being able to, like, it gives you the open, you can trade, right? If they make a play bot lane, to get turret, but you already got first blood turret, you just make a counter play to get top lane turret, and you still come out ahead because you had the first blood turret gold, and they don't. So, that's something you really gotta start putting more emphasis on too. First blood turret is insane. Like, you almost want to have like a one-track mind about trying to get that however possible, because that's your goal. You want to be getting that however possible every game. It's actually if you find yourself ever like stuck as far as like climbing goes, just I want you to actually make a marker or like take a notepad or a doc or something. Count the games where you contribute to getting first blood turret or you get first blood turret like itself. And if you're not getting that at least like 5 games out of 10, then try to improve on that and like don't complain about like losing games because first blood turret is insane, especially because once you get a turret you can transition, like if you're sharing the gold or you're taking solo gold off of it, then you get you're basically guaranteed to be ahead of the enemy jungler, and then you can snowball with the gold you make. So yeah, if you find yourself like losing games or you're stuck, just see if you're getting first blood turret in all your games. Because if you're not, then that's the first manner of business that you should be working on. Oh. So this is what I was talking about earlier. You pick up your red buff, and look how much efficiency you're getting out of it. You're killing a lot of minions with that red buff. Oh, more minions to kill with the red buff. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh no. Oh, now you're gonna clear all your topside camps. Oh no. Your poor red buff. All you wanted to do was be useful. All your red buff wanted to do was be useful. Oh, thankfully you don't do wolves. Alright, maybe you'll get 1 gank off with this red buff. Oh, no. Oh, you're looking for it. You're looking for it. Oh no, you're gonna have to wait because he's playing passive now. He's got PTSD from the other ganks. Oh, he went in. Alright, maybe we'll get some usefulness out of the red buff. Oh, no stun. Oh, you can't get close enough. Oh no. Still not a single champion hit with this red buff. Oh no. Not any healing done either because you didn't need the healing from it either. Oh no. Oh, 1 auto. Oh, you're dead. Yeah, same thing as before. You have a recurring trend. You're way too greedy with these plays. Like, you gotta respect the enemy team. You're playing like the enemy jungler doesn't exist, Your mid laner literally just died to their mid laner, and their mid laner has been off the map for, let's count how many seconds, okay? When's the last Aria spotting? Right? 15:46, okay? Let's see when you execute this gank. So they've already seen you. They've already seen you like 10 seconds ago and Aria disappeared. And you E forward onto the Jarvan and then ult in when you haven't seen the enemy mid laner for 20 goddamn seconds, let alone where their enemy jungler is. You gotta hold yourself accountable and you gotta temper yourself from making these plays. Cause you have 4 kills, but if the enemy team is more mechanically skilled, or if the enemy team was just a little more astute to what was going on, you could very easily be 0-3 right now. Like, just from the fact that you make all these greedy plays that are 50-50s. And you're basically flipping a coin and saying, I bet the enemy team is too stupid to punish me for this play. Or, I bet the enemy team won't counter this play for whatever reason. And that's a bad way to look at it. Because you clean up people below you, but guess what? You're D5 and you're trying to climb. Like, you've already cleaned up the people below you. You should be trying to make plays that are consistent so you can outplay people who are in your bracket or better than you, a little higher than you in the bracket. Making these plays, you're going to go on huge... When you play against people who are autofill jungle or just don't understand jungle, or you get really lucky where people just happen to be on the opposite side of the map on you the whole game and you never get counter ganked, you're going to have great win streaks. And then you're going to run into people who actually know what they're doing, and you're going to go on a huge loss streak, because this shit is the opposite of consistent. This shit is why people go on streaks, because they make these plays and they don't understand that these plays are the opposite of consistent. And once you run into people who understand the concept of a counter gank, then this shit happens. Or people who are just like these people and don't understand counter ganks that well, but they're just more mechanically skilled and they don't die to your ganks. You're gonna be 0-3 instead of 4-3 right here. Like, you need to understand when you have very limited vision that you don't go for plays like this. It worked earlier in the game, multiple times in fact, because either they misplayed situations or they didn't predict counter ganks. But the higher you go in the bracket and the later it goes in the game, the higher chance you're just going to fail all these plays and either set yourself behind or your team behind or both. So you really got to temper yourself when you're deciding to make these plays. You're like, do I know where the enemy jungler is? Do I know where the enemy mid laner is? Do I know where the enemy top laner is? Do I know where the enemy support is? And like, that should be like a checklist of boxes you cross off in your head before you say, okay, pull the trigger, I'm going to go for this gank. So let's look at your buy. Phage, Kino Gem. Where's your control word? Yikes. Alright, this is a problem. You're 17 minutes into the game as the role that needs to buy either the most or second most control words, and you haven't bought a single one the whole game. There's really not much else to say about that, but you really gotta work on that. Okay. Yeah. This is a low risk. This is a low success game because it's really hard for Tarek to initiate that himself. His flash isn't up yet either. It's about to come up though. If he has flash, maybe look for that. Okay. Ward debris. You just saw your warded out. It's the same mistake over and over again. It's the same mistake over and over again. You can't go for these. Like, every now and then, like, sure, but like, you're just preying on the fact that they can't punish you. That they're too bad to punish you or too stupid to punish you. And that's not a way you want to play unless you're smurfing, which you're not smurfing. So, you can't be going for these kinds of plays. Like, you're just setting your team behind.
Smurf. This is just like, I don't know. I guess I'm used to playing pretty aggro.
Aggressive is fine, but it has to be smart aggression if you want to be consistent. Aggressive is better than passive, but dumb aggression is just pointless. Because what happens is, all this stuff happens. Like you just die over and over. All right, so waiting for your Black Cleaver here. That's fine. Small thing. When you're this late in the game, just sell your refill. You don't need it anymore, and it's a control ward. It's essentially a control ward with the money. It's 60 gold resell, but you can wait a little bit and get the extra 15 for a control ward. And here we are on base number 4 or 5, and we still haven't bought a control ward. Yikes. Oh. Okay. So at this point, your next objective is sorry. Your next objective is mid turret or bot turret, whichever one. After you get first blood turret, you just kind of go down a line. Your next objectives are the rest of the others, or Rift Herald, and if it's a good dragon, the dragon. But if it's a useless dragon like this one, leave it alone. It's not worth your time. But yeah, you need a path with a purpose at all times. Okay. It seems like you path without a purpose, which is pretty normal because people kind of just autopilot a lot of the time when they jungle. But not you, because you. I'm gonna teach you better right now. You should path with a purpose all the time. In the early game, that's pathing towards whatever lane you think is best to gank early on, because it's snowbally or that's the easiest setup for you. That's where you path to early on, and once the early game is starting to progress, then you start pathing to where do I go to get a first blood turret, and then after that's done, you start pathing to the next objective. In this case, it's either mid or bottom outer, probably bottom outer because it's lower, and then you start pathing bottom because that's your next objective. It doesn't seem like you know what you're doing here. It seems like you kind of go up here because you're like, oh, I have camps to farm. Oh, and the scuttle's here too. I'll just grab the scuttle real quick. But there's no real point in you being top lane right now. This Jarvan's not going to step up in the lane. He's going to fucking die if he steps up in the lane this far up. If he steps up in the lane this far up, he's an idiot. You're Diamond 5. People are pretty dumb, but they're not this dumb. This guy knows he can't step up this far. So there's no point in you being top either. Your play is to get this turret, or Herald, which they already got, or mid turret, which is really hard because you don't have a mid turret, and this guy is really hard for you to kill. So naturally, your path should be bottom, but instead of pathing bottom here, you walk out of base to top lane and do wolves. You're pathing without a purpose. Yeah, you can, like, I don't want to hear it about, like, oh, I was going to do Rift Herald. No, you weren't. Like, just know what you're going to do Rift Herald with your Rivet right there and having to catch that wave. Like, realistically, you just didn't know what to farm. You didn't know what to do, so you just went to go farm something. Which is, it's very common. Like, it's a very, it's like an epidemic about like, people who aren't, like, D1 master junglers, like, or people who don't play jungle. They don't understand what to do in the mid game, which is very, very normal, you know. But I'm just gonna tell you right now, you just path to where your next objective is, and you play around that, and that's all you need to do. Very, very simple. That's a that's a glitch. That turret's dead. Okay. So now you understand you should be going bottom, but unfortunately, because you didn't recognize this earlier. You're very far from the play. Nice snipe. E, nice. Go back in, knockout. Oh god. No way. Okay. Okay. That guy really doesn't understand how to play against Reksai, but fight was fine. The biggest problem is so let's
Just wasn't there on time.
you just weren't there on time. Exactly. So let's run a maybe not so funny to you hypothetical right now, okay? So Victor starts walking to the play at 19:18, okay? Let's see how long it takes Victor to get to the play. Takes him about 13 seconds with a ghost. Okay. 13 seconds with the ghost from mid lane. So, and, well, I can't really do the movement speed thing because this guy ghosts, but, takes him 13 seconds to get there, right? Imagine you had been pathing towards bottom, and it takes you, let's say it takes you 13 seconds to get there, and you get there at the same time as Victor, right? If you're right here with Victor right now, what's gonna happen to these guys?
They're both just dead.
They're fucking dead, dude. They're fucking dead. Straight up dead. But this play goes almost so bad because this guy makes it to over here, whereas if you're here with Victor, this guy doesn't make it past this goddamn line. Neither of them do. These guys are fucking dead right here if you're here. But instead, they get out to over here, and they put out so many more, they eat so many more resources during this fight, okay? And they take your resources too. So, let's see. Okay. You show up right here, okay? So you show up right here. And best case scenario, Vayne's dead. Like, worst, okay, so let's say worst case scenario. Like, either he condemned you or something and, like, it took forever to kill him. 100% he dies on this stun, okay? 100% he dies on this stun if you're here. At the very worst. I think he's dead already, but, you can argue that he won't die until the stun. But he's 100% dead on the stun at least. So then, this guy gets 1, 2, almost 3 autos off before, you snipe him out with Q, and it was very possible he dodged Q and just walked out anyway too, or just kept fighting and died later, got even more autos off. So it's like a best case scenario for you when you, like, based on what actually happened, like when you getting here late, the best case scenario was you sniping out him with that Q, and if that doesn't happen, this fight probably goes catastrophically bad. So then you have to finish off Thresh. You also should have been dead earlier, and it takes you a tunnel, your tunnel, and full 3 autos and your E. And if you had full 3 autos and the E on the Jarvan here, instead of having to use it on Thresh because Thresh should have been dead, then Jarvan's probably dead, like, instantly right here. And then you walk away from the Olaf. Or you potentially walk away from the Olaf. But it takes your ultimate and one more tunnel to even kill the Jarvan because you're that late. So, and all of that stem from you walking the wolves for no reason. That's it. That's the only thing you need to change for that play to go huge net win for you guys is instead of walking the wolves, you just walk bottom, which is where you're supposed to be anyway. And as long as you identify, as soon as you walk on a base, what is my next objective on the map? Where do I need to be? And you say, oh, bot lane, the turret's low. We already have top turret. And bot lane is the lowest outer turret. You walk to bottom, you're there for that play. You get 4 kills, you lose maybe 1 or 2, and you get turret. But instead, you lose 4 for 3 because you're late, and they get your turret. And small change. All you needed to do is right-click bottom instead of right-click wolves, and that would have been fine. So, this is, like, stuff like this shit is the reason, when you make, like, mechanical errors and stuff, I'm not going to point it out as much. And I'm not trying to, by not pointing it out, I'm not trying to say mechanical errors don't matter. But you literally didn't need to be any better of a player than you are now to make this play, right? Literally all you needed to do is path bottom instead of path to the wolves. You would have made it to this fight, and the fight just would have been naturally way easier. The thing about mechanics is that they're great, but you should want to use them as a bailout tool more than a crutch, because your mechanics come and go. Some days you can't hit a skill shot, some days you can't dodge a skill shot, some days you don't miss anything and you're fucking Neo from the Matrix and everything misses you. Your mechanics come and go. But the thing is, what's always going to be consistent is your macro play. if you identify where to be on the map, like look at the hoops you have to jump through to even make this fight at the 3v4, right? You have to fucking chase down this Thresh, chase down the Thresh, and then you barely fucking killed this Jarvan, right? You got all your cooldowns on him, you ultimate to dodge their abilities, he knocks you up, you kite back into the bush, then tunnel over, get the knocker back on him, and then kill him. If you're in this fight immediately, not, like, it's so much easier, you know? If you were in this fight right when I told you, right at the same time as Victor, it's so much easier for yourself mechanically, right? You don't have to jump through the amount of hoops you did here to even trade 3v4. All you need to do is literally you show up at the same time as Victor here, and then it's a free double kill. This shit is elementary for you, right? Like, a 4v2 for you, and like the Victor even stuns the Vayne for you. This shit is elementary. You could be, like a gold player could execute this game from this position. You know? It's...
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm not trying to say you have bad mechanics. I'm not trying to say you don't need mechanics, but I'm just saying you should put yourself in the position where you don't need to rely on your mechanics if you don't have to. Because at the end of the day, that's just the least consistent thing.
Matter beyond a certain point.
No, I wouldn't say that. Like if you get to Challenger, your mechanics are, you can't hide your mechanics because everyone there should be just as smart as you or close. But like, you want to try to make them not matter. Because there's going to be days where your mechanics just aren't there. Maybe you were lifting too much at the gym, your arms are sore, your muscle memory's off. Maybe you had too much to drink, or maybe you're tired as fuck from work. And for whatever reason, there's a million reasons why your mechanics could be off. But the thing is, making smart macro plays is always going to be consistent, and that's something you can always control. So that's what you should be focusing on more than anything. Whenever people come over and they're like, oh my god, if I had just hit that Zed Shuriken, then this play would have gone better. Yeah, maybe, but what led you to be in that position in the first place? If you were there earlier, would you have had to hit that Shuriken? If you had walked a different path, maybe you wouldn't have had to hit that Shuriken. Like, there's so many things that you should be prioritizing before you think about mechanics at all. Because mechanics are like the last ditch thing. When you put yourself in shit situations because of lack of knowledge or because you just autopiloted or whatever, then you have to rely on your mechanics to bail you out at the end of the day when you're in that situation. But the goal is to not be in that situation in the first place. Huh. So gold here. You're going towards Warden's Mail. This is gonna be everything. I don't really agree with this buy. I think Deadman's play is just pretty much straight up better than Randuin's for you.
Really?
In pretty much every case, yeah. I think it's just pretty much better. Against Vayne, like the thing about Vayne is like, yeah, she's gonna crit your ass, but if she autos you for a more prolonged period of time, anyway, you're just dead. And the thing is, the extra move speed will help you create picks. I don't think Randuin's is like the worst item to buy here, but I don't think it's better than Deadman's plate here. But regardless, it's not like a huge difference one way or another.
I feel like Reksai can just catch up to people anyway.
Maybe.
Because
the thing is, like,
she's really fast.
Okay. Part of it is like a
that Olaf just kind of did what I did.
yeah. The thing is, like, yeah, you can catch up to people, but you can also catch up to people faster. And then the thing is, like, when you make it to a play faster, or when you execute a play faster, then you leave yourself less chance for counterplay, right? When you don't have to run a guy as far down the lane because you get to run faster, or when you get to a play faster so their team can't respond in time, you know, that's a tangible benefit as well, you know.
Yeah.
When you get to the fight, when you're in the fight already, Randuin's is better. But as far as like getting to the fight and creating the play, Deadman's play is better. So it's more of it's a bit of a preference thing, but just in general, I think getting to the play faster in solo queue is a lot better than being stronger like in the play, because you generally want to make plays where they don't have that much counterplay to begin with already, right? Okay. Picking this up. Okay. So the objective to be playing around at this point in the game is the Baron, because this dragon is irrelevant. What the fuck? What the fuck is this play?
That
Okay.
thing just fucking came out of nowhere.
Okay.
I think he used it at like the last possible moment that he had the trinket, and then it just killed it.
Alright. Well, okay. Okay, he's gone. Okay. So, your goal right now, you got some downtime, like I talked about earlier. Riven's dead. Your goal right now is to pick up your money for Randuin's before you go back, because Randuin's actually doesn't suffer from the syndrome as much as some other items do, where a lot of the value of the item comes from the completed item itself. Zanya's components, pretty, like, yeah, Seekers is useful, yeah, Codex is useful for CDR, but at the end of the day, you build Zanya's for the active. Same thing with, what's another good example? Death's Dance, right? That shit is basically, the only reason that item's even good is because of the active slash passive, where, like, it's eating damage for you, and putting it as a dot. The same applies to Randuin's. It's not nearly as drastic as Death's Dance, you know, it still gives you the armor. Warden's Mail is still a pretty good item. It gives you the attack speed reduction on autos. But, when you're this close to an item, I think you might even have, I think Random's is 2,900, Warden's is 1k, 400 for the Ruby Crystal. So you're really close if you don't have it already. But when you're close to like completing an item like this, your goal is to try to get your team to not do anything, so you can either farm up the last camp or two to get it, or just go get it if you have the money for it already. So that's something to take into account when you're close to an item, or you got a lot of gold on you, or you're about to hit a spike. Try to backpin your team from doing anything for the time being, unless it's they're unable to, because the enemy team is like forcing something really important like Baron or something. But that's something to keep in mind when you're close to an item. Like, just try to get it before you fight next, just because the effective power you get from the spike versus not having the completed item is pretty significant most times. Good ult. Yep. This hold off is literally just doing what you did earlier, making way too many aggressive plays without vision. Oh god. That's hilarious. Okay, so now you guys can transition into mid turret or Baron. Okay, going to the Baron here. Okay, good. You combo your E with your smite. Perfect. It's good that you know about that. Very, very important mechanic. Okay. So you got a bit of downtime here because Victor wants to do stuff. Whereas the rest of your team recall, you actually could have done both here as well. Just because Victor was doing something as well. As long as you're not like the last one back in base, it's usually fine. So Randuin's here. Spectre's Cal. Okay. I think Stoneplate is just better, but I don't think Visage is the worst thing in the world either. Just in general, like Stoneplate Locket is such a nasty combo right now. So anyone who can build it with any semblance of use of effectiveness is usually really strong to just go for that. But it's not the worst thing in the world to do like other items, especially if you're doing this build, because you end up being a bit squishy. Wow, that was really scary.
guess I shouldn't have tried to even
Yeah.
help that guy.
So
Because I know I can give him vision after he hops over the wall, but their whole team was just there.
So here's the thing. Okay, well, it doesn't really apply here, but I'm gonna say it anyway here because I'm not sure if I'll get another. Wait, do you keep walking down during this? Okay, you're indecisive. So, um, situations like this, I really should make a name for these, but basically, a lot of people in League have this problem. I guess I'll call it like the buddy buddy problem. They see someone on their team getting accosted by the enemy team, and they're like, I gotta go help. But the most important thing you need to gauge before you decide to go help someone or not is what will me being there do that won't otherwise happen? You can't fight these guys 3v2, right?
Nope.
Not a chance. So naturally, and no one else on your team is close enough. They're all doing their own thing. No one else is close enough to help to turn this fight, or so even if you guys stall this fight, there's no way help is coming. It's not happening. You know, the 9/11 call went through. No one's on the other line, so you guys are on your own. And the thing is, so basically you can't fight. So the only thing this guy can do is run. What are you gonna help him do if he's running upwards, right? What realistically can you do for him if he's running upwards? Nothing really. You know?
Yeah.
Like, if his best play is to go upwards, but that play doesn't involve you at all. If you need to identify when a play is going to happen independent of your actions, what you do here is irrelevant. Unless you, like, what you do here is irrelevant, aside from, like, literally just walking in and inting, and they decide, like, oh, let's kill this idiot instead of this one. Which you shouldn't be doing, because at least there's a small chance that he'll get out. But the thing is, his chance of getting out is not predicated on anything you do, unless you decide to kill yourself too. So this is where you just leave, because if you can't turn and his only play is a play that shouldn't involve you at all, then you need to know when to just leave, because if this guy is gonna draw them by trying to run away, then you can make a play on the other side of the map. But if you try to help him when he in reality should be 100% dead, the only thing you change is you don't get a response play off of the pressure he draws, and you probably die too. So this is a very hard thing for a lot of people to learn, because a lot of people don't have the game knowledge to judge on the fly. Can I help this guy or can I not? But the best way I can think of it is put yourself in his shoes and think about what you'd do if you were him. And in this case, like, he's not going to turn. He doesn't have the tools to turn, and you guys can't win a turn either. So he's just going to leave. He's just going to run upwards and try to escape. And him running upwards and trying to escape is a play that shouldn't involve you at all. So you shouldn't bother involving yourself at all, because you can just try to make the better thing to do is to try to make a response play on the other side of the map to pull people away from him. So yeah, that's about it. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So grouping up with your team here, going middle, ribbon based. Free turret here. Okay. Good Jin ult. Should have done it on the next wave though. Or held the shots a little longer. Okay. Okay. Not letting him cut through the safe way. Free poke damage. Okay. Oh no. Okay. So back off here. Oh boy. Yeah, so you have to back off here because your Victor got caught. He got caught because like everyone left to go for the pick, but that's
I
not
have no idea what
necessarily.
happened to him.
It's not necessarily your fault.
Yeah.
Because it's your job to. It's not necessarily your job, but like it's fine for you to look for picks. He just gets Ari charm. Yeah. Like it's.
Yeah, I felt like
yeah.
me cutting him off was more important than me throwing
It definitely was.
2 Qs for
Definitely.
siege.
Yeah, Victor getting caught there is not something that was not something that involved you. So how the hell does this fight start? Why the fuck? Well, for starters, why the fuck are you guys fighting 4v5? But I'm very. How the hell does this fight fucking start? I was speeding up because I thought nothing would happen with Victor dead, but I guess I was wrong. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the? Alright. Alright. Okay. Alright, it's time to leave. What am I seeing? Yikes. Pick your tunnel. Tunnel should be up soon, and you're gone. Okay. Oh, nice. Damn. Okay. So let's walk through this fight.
That's another one of those. Is it worth it?
Let's walk
to
through
trade
this
here?
goddamn mess of a fight. We'll talk about it. Alright, so this fight starts in the most awkward way possible with Thresh inting his face off. Unfortunately, Tarek misses the stun, so it's not an insta-kill. He flays you. Good to wait for at least a flay before you flash, because you could have potentially saved flash. Your Riven does not get the combo off properly. Vayne kills her. Jhin flash autos. And from here on out, as soon as his Jarvan ult goes out, it's time to bail. It's nice knowing you, Jhin. Good luck at McDonald's, dude. You're dead. So you walk out here. Start walking out. There's nothing you can do for that dude. So you start walking away here, and I really don't like this E. This E is really, really bad. You're trying to get Ari, but the thing is your Q is down. Your Prey Seeker, the Burrow Q is already down, so you didn't have a way. I know what you're looking for. You're trying to Q him and then R off of it, like you do right here. But
the play in my head was like QR, and then he's close enough to that tunnel that I put to cut off J4 initially, and then like we're free because Tarek's already running.
Okay. The thing is, that play is like it's better to just take the play to get out.
The safe approach, yeah.
Here you should take the play to get out, because if you're alive, you and Tarek can probably stop them from taking a turret. Whereas, well, actually Victor's alive too. But okay, so actually with Victor alive here, it's a little bit, it's actually not as bad. In all honesty. Because you don't actually commit your flash here. The only thing you commit is your ult cooldown. What I would do though, after you ult the Aria here, your tunnel is up. So as soon as you ult Aria here, you can actually just as soon as you get out of the CC, W, and then E away, and then potentially Tarek can save you with something. You kind of just stay and fight. Like you might as well just try to W and E away. So that's the only other thing. Honestly, like if Victor was dead, that's a terrible play. If Victor had died with the rest of you in the fight and his death timer is long, and potentially they get like either like a Baron or like a turret off of it, then it's a terrible play. But because Victor's alive and he can just wave clear it anyway, then it's not really that bad. But like if Baron is up and stuff in this scenario and you go for that, that's like really, really bad, because you need to be up when like Baron is up to potentially like be able to pressure them off. Because if Tarek's alone, no way he's stopping Baron 1v3. Or 1v2 for that matter. Whereas you're up, like you have a better chance in that 2v3 than you do in Tarek does in a 1v2 or 1v3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're just Kindle Gem here if you're going for Visage. I don't think he bought a single control word this game. We can check after, but I don't think you bought one this game. I'm not gonna harp on it too much because it's an easy fix, but you really gotta get on that. I can't understate how important that is, or overstate how important that is. Yep. Because a lot of your problem, like how we identified earlier, is like you make like all these aggressive, like risky plays without vision, but like control wards are like a huge part of how you even get vision to make those plays non-risky. So definitely got to work on that. So you guys are playing around dragon here. Here at the bot wave, fight starts. What are you doing?
This is just, I don't know. Victor died first, and then there's a Jarvan ulti somewhere.
Okay, so number one, you don't really need to get this wave. This wave's already pushing. Just be with your team in case this in case something like this happens. So like, if we're looking at a vacuum, then this play is the better play because you pressure bottom harder and someone will have to go get it eventually, and then you can start the dragon when someone moves. But we're not in a vacuum. We're in D5 solo queue where people get caught for no reason half the time. So you have to play with your team here. You can say the right play was to do this because, like, for whatever reason, but the right play isn't always the right play, or isn't always the best play to make in solo queue because, exactly this shit happens, you know? If you're here, you know, this guy gets caught pretty damn far up, so maybe you don't save him, but just in general, if it's not like a super important thing, like here, it's really not that important. Yeah, if you shove it faster, someone will have to catch it eventually, and you can 45 pressure Baron for a little bit off of that. But the trade-off is that someone gets caught and the fight starts and you're not there and you just lose the game. Because if you lose a fight here, then you're pretty fucked. You probably won't make it back into this game. So that's the big issue at the start. So the fight itself, for here you can't really get in because of the Jarvan ult. But here, you're very... I don't know what you're doing here. Because you clearly can't get into the back line. So you should just combo Jarvan real quick. Knock him up, combo him. You end up doing it late. And then by the time you start hitting him, it's already like too late. The fight's over. The fight wouldn't have... the fight would have been over regardless of you putting out those extra cooldowns on Jarvan. But it's still really important. In a fight that like progresses like this, where you can't dive in, just be immediately hitting frontline and try to go front to back. Like this fight's over just because your front to back is weaker than theirs, but you need to identify that like your only play here is to start hitting the front line with Jhin, and then when the fight deteriorates the way it does for you guys and you have to start leaving, then you start leaving. Realistically, like it doesn't make any difference in this fight. The only real difference is you would have put out like an extra 500 damage on a Jarvan, but it's more about the concept because it doesn't seem like you understand. Okay, maybe you do. It's kind of hard in this fight because it goes so catastrophically bad from the start. But it's important to understand the concept of front to back. I don't know why you're staying in burrow form here. I don't know if it's because you're looking for an E on the back line potentially or what. But as soon as this Jarvan's on you here and the fights progress like this way, you should immediately recognize like, oh, I need to knock up Jarvan, start applying cleaver, and try to get E on him and start burning the front line for my back line to kill. The thing that just worries me a little bit is that your response was like really late. Like you started hitting him later, but it was like kind of like you were begrudgingly like, oh, well, there's nothing else I can do. Whereas like you should have identified immediately, oh, there's nothing else I can do from this position. The back line is not accessible. I need to just immediately start hitting the front line, and hopefully we burn the front line fast enough to move to the back line. But this fight,
it was,
realistically...
I was just indecisive between, well, should I just dive in and kill myself so that, I don't know, I can delay them and then maybe my Jhin can get out or something.
Okay.
Like, because Jarvan has his no ulti, and
yeah.
Then the fucking Vayne, Olaf, Ari, and the Thresh were all basically holding hands.
Yeah.
So me with my Randuins, I could delay them a fair amount.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
But I just
Yeah.
made the decision too late, I guess.
Yeah. If you're gonna, I don't think that's the wrong decision. Like going in, like you said. Um, but if you're gonna do that, then yeah, you do that fast. And if you're not gonna do that, then you immediately have to start hitting front line, not like just like hesitate like you did there. And like I said, uh, in that fight, it makes no difference because Victor got caught and that fight was over in an instant. But in a closer fight, it's important that you don't hesitate like that because that could be the difference between winning a fight or not. Cut. This is the longest fucking fight ever. Ooh. Oh. Jesus, this fight was like 10 years long. Holy moly. So, let's break this down. So, this fight is pretty similar to the last fight. Well, actually, not that similar. But, the same concept applies. But you actually do it properly this time. You're immediately hitting front to back here to help your carries. You're hitting the front line. You're hitting the front line. You're hitting the front line. Unfortunately, your Jin just gets blown up. And you stay, hit the front line, hit the front line, hit the front line, and execute all off. Boom. Perfect fight so far. You've done everything you should do. You get hooked here. You W upwards. Yarn follows you, doesn't get the knock up. You pop him up a little bit here, you keep walking away. And right here is where you're at a... Well, right around there is where you're at a crossroads. You can either make the choice to go upwards and look for the blast plant, or you can walk downwards and away. I probably would just walk upwards and away, because realistically, you shouldn't really make it back into this fight. Ari misplays heavily and dies to Victor. The thing is, same thing as before. Her killing Ari wasn't really the result of anything you really did. It would have happened anyway, and the safer play here is just go top and escape to the blast plant. And like worst case scenario, like the blast plant isn't there, but you just walk away anyway. Like you just keep walking upwards instead of walking downwards, and then when your tunnel comes up, you get out anyway. So, you do play the response to what happens, okay. What you actually probably should have done, let me actually look at this real quick. Okay, yeah. I would have gone on Thresh here, instead of Jarvan with the Lantern. I would have gone on Thresh instead of Jarvan because of the Lantern. Because the thing about this is the risk if you don't go on Jarvan is that Jarvan tries to turn on your Victor. But the thing is there's two things here. If you're on Thresh, once you can't throw the Lantern to Jarvan, and if you separate Jarvan from if you go on the Thresh here, you separate him from Jarvan, and then Jarvan shouldn't insta kill your Victor. If your Victor gets insta killed here, it's once again probably independent action regardless of whatever you do. And if you do separate Thresh first, then you can walk backwards and then kill Jarvan when he's separated from the Thresh with Victor. Unless Victor insta dies. But if Victor insta dies to this Jarvan, then that's like completely his fault anyway. So it's better to just go on Thresh here to deny the Lantern. And then once Thresh is like out of the fight, if Jarvan had turned on the Victor like he did, then you can just turn on the Jarvan, and he won't really have he shouldn't have a Lantern to come back to. So after that, the fight is over. There's not much else to do here. Catch this. You want some item? You want some gold for an item here? Go for it. So what do you buy here? I'm actually curious. Let's see. There's a lot of items available to you. Seems like you don't really know either.
I think, well, this is like 3 days ago. That's probably a Thorn Mail.
Okay. Interesting. I wouldn't go Thornmail, I go DMP, but that's okay. I go DMP or GA here. But you had awkward money, so GA would have been really really awkward buy. You didn't have enough for BF, but you had way too much gold to realistically buy cloth armor. Yikes. So there's really not much to say about this fight. It starts off awfully because you get caught. There's really not much else to say. You get caught, your team tries to bail you out, and the fight lines get really awkward here. Because everyone gets too close to you to try to help you, and then everyone gets Jarvan ulted, and then everyone dies. And there's really not much you can do because you're basically on the run the whole fight, and you can't help your team because you got chunked out straight from the start. Really, the only thing I'll say here is you shouldn't be D-warding alone. I'm really not even sure why you walk up here. But while your team is in the area, you need to identify like exactly where your team is. They're not in a like if they engage on you here, but your team's right here, then you just turn and you kill them because they're 3 and they're split. But the thing is, you're split from your team here, so they just get free damage on you, and then by the time your team makes it over to try to help you, it's too late. They're all gonna come in around the same time, and then your carries end up clumping up, or your whole team in general ends up clumping up for the Jarvan ult in an attempt to save you, and everyone just dies. This fight is over from the start as soon as you get caught and the Jarvan ult comes out. Nothing to say about the fight really at all. Okay. So Jarvan comes in to try to get in tape here. You fight him off. And you're back up because the others are starting to come. You're dead. I wouldn't really say much about that. In this case, like when you're in this position, you kind of just have to be behind. You have to kind of just go for. Well, you didn't have to go for it, but like you don't lose anything going for it because you already lost the Baron at that point, and your team's gonna spawn to defend anyway. Worst thing is you give them 300 extra gold, but you didn't flash for it or anything, so not the worst thing in the world to go for that play, even if it doesn't work out, because it's basically a no-risk play. You don't lose anything for dying. And this game looks just about over. Let's see here. You don't have enough gold to buy anything except Elixir of Iron, which you should buy before next fight. Well, there's not even going to be a fight. Yeah, there probably won't even be a fight here, as you're down 2 carries. Or not a winnable fight at least. Yeah. Okay. The other thing I will say is when you're late game and they're knocking on your door, just buy Elixir of Iron for the extra tenacity, extra HP. Maybe it gets you out of CC and helps you win a fight. In this case, it's unwinnable because your carries are dead already. But like late game, if you got the extra gold, they're knocking on your door. Just spend your gold, buy an Elixir of Iron, give you a little bit more stats, potentially turn a fight into your favor. Because if you don't win the fight, you lose anyway. So might as well spend your gold. And yeah, that's about it. This fight's completely unwinnable because you don't have carries up and you die. So to wrap things up, your biggest issue, from what I see, is that you don't respect the enemy team. You play in a bubble. You see a play, and if you want to do it, you do it. You don't take into account the enemy laners. You don't take into account the enemy jungler. You don't take into account how long the play takes. You don't take into account any of that. You kind of just see a play, and if you like it in your head, then you go for it. And you have to put a lot more layers into your decision making because there's so much more that goes into a play than just can we kill him. You have to start taking into account what's the chance, how fast do we kill him? What's the chance that the enemy jungler shows up if we don't kill him quickly? Where's the enemy mid laner? Can the enemy mid laner show up if we have to run him down to the turret? What will this gank accomplish? Will this snowball the lane matchup for me? Will this snowball the lane matchup for my laner? Will this gold from this kill allow me to fight the enemy jungler? Will I be able to snowball it? Will I be able to force better ganks off of the gold I get from this kill? All of that plays into account. You don't take any of these into account, it seems, when you play in the early game, and that's a huge issue for you. As far as mechanics go, there's some flubs here and there, but like I said earlier, Mechanics are not that important. Your mechanics are right around the baseline to compete in your elo. The place where you're lacking is your macro ability and your decision making. You just kind of you don't really think or prep plays. You see a play develop and you just go for it. And whether it works or not, you just let Jesus take the wheel and you kind of just go for it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's a really bad mentality to have. Um, the other thing is you don't really path with purpose. Like I said, you start on the Gromp or you start on the Krugs when you're entering a quadrant of the jungle after you base or you die. And you start from there and you move around after that. First Blood Turret, big objective to go for. Make sure you path around that. When you go for ganks, make sure you take that into account just as much as you take into account whether it's killable or not and whether it'll help your laner. First Blood Turret, like I said many times, most important objective you can get, and make sure you put heavy emphasis on it. After that, make sure you're looking to break the rest of the outer turrets, or if it's like an important dragon or Rift Herald, play around those two, and let your team know that that's what you're looking for, so they understand and everyone's on the same page. That's about it. You have any questions before we finish up?
Hmm. Uh, so you say you play like pretty much every role.
Yep.
And like every champion.
Yep.
But my main champion is kind of troll, but I mean Tom Kent's jungle pretty much. But like if I got a game of him, then do you feel like you'd be able to offer like equal advice for
maybe not?
Because this game, like I understand now like the basics of jungle macro for like pathing from the farthest or the closest camp to the side lane, then to the middle of the map, and then you just move from there to like checking enemy jungle CS, and then you can determine where he's going to be, where he's not going to be, using the little plant that gives you vision, whatever it's called, etc., etc. You explained all that, but like, yeah, this is like not my primary champion. This was just like something that, she's like a meta pick, and I felt like it would be better suited for a generalized review because she's a pretty simple champion. She's and then of course the basics of jungle, all the basics of jungling can be explained along with it, and I learned a lot from that.
So I don't play Tom Kent's jungle much more often. Yeah, I'm sure nobody does. But so maybe not like I won't be able to say like as much as I did. Like this session was fucking like 2 hours. Like this is way longer than most of the normal ones.
I thought it was good.
And also whatchamacallit, like a lot of like when after I've explained like a lot of like I explain a lot of stuff actually in this one. So like obviously I won't be rehashing all of it, so there won't be as much, and especially because of the fact that I won't be able to comment too much as far as like jungle itemization on Kench, like optimal jungle itemization on Kench. Like I can give my input. Like I know what items are good. I know how Tom Kench plays. I know relatively about how fast he clears and the damage he does in ganks. But like as far as like the nuances of like his mechanics, like obviously I won't be as well versed in that. But the thing is, a lot of mistakes that, like I said earlier, many times, a lot of mistakes that people make in games are not like champion mechanic specific, right? It's a lot of it just like, oh, you should have pathed here instead of here. You should have been here earlier, or you shouldn't have been here. At this point, you should have warded, or at this point, you should have counter jungled, etc. Like I can get like the reason I say that is because you literally could have been playing pretty much any champion this game, and I still would have given you almost like 2 hours worth of like advice about like what to change and stuff. Which is why like, and I can do that on like any champion, any role, because just that's just a game knowledge thing. Like obviously, if someone asks me to VOD review Azir jungle, then like yeah, I'm not gonna know what the timings are on Azir jungle. You know, I don't know if you can do a 3 minute 15 top lane counter gank on buff to Wolves camp into top, right? Like I don't know if that's possible. But as far as like how to path, and like macro, and you know where you should be, where you shouldn't be, and like in team fight decision making, I can help on all of that. No matter what champion you're playing, it's just the only things are my itemization advice might not be as deep, and my like in champion like mechanic macro tips might not be um, as common. Like I might not even know like any because like if you're like a gold three like a Zero player, like hell yeah, I definitely know enough about that to like point out when you're making a mistake. But like higher like diamond or like even like higher diamond, like depends like the quality of players in D5 varies greatly, as I'm sure you're aware. Um, like there's no guarantee I'll be able to help out on like as far as like mechanic stuff, but as far as like, can I still get through like an hour plus of talking to you about every mistake you make in a game, even on Tompkins Jungle? Definitely.
All right.
Yep.
Um,
Anything else?
you upload this to YouTube, right?
Yeah. I highlight
Oh,
it after the stream ends and I upload it to YouTube. I stagger my uploads. I do like one every 2 days, so it'll be a while until this one's up on YouTube. I have a huge backlog, but I'll highlight this right after the stream ends and I'll send it to you if you want the link.
okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it because everything else can just be left for me to review.
Okay.
And
So
yeah.
if you ever want to schedule again, you ever have any questions you didn't think of right now, hit me up on Discord or Skype and we'll get something sorted out, dude. Good luck in your games, man.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, that was long.